What is up, everybody, and welcome to the pregame show. There it is, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app. I'm Adam Mares. I'm your host. I'm solo today. I have no friends, no homies. Back from a very successful launch of CHGO. Oh, here it is. Boom! I found myself a homie. Kale. What's up? Super producer Kale stepping out from the shadows and in front of the camera. Is this your first time on the show as an actual panelist?
It is.
Dude, hell yeah, man.
Thank you. Inclement weather put me in the spot start.
Inclement weather, a pandemic, and a launching of a brand new arm, as everybody saw. CHGO, the Chicago arm, launched successfully on Friday. It was awesome. It was a banger. We might talk about that here in a little bit. Dev driving very slowly, trying to avoid a 50-car pileup on I-25.
50 cars.
Fake spring is officially over. We're back to winter again.
I was trying to explain this to one of my friends earlier. We were on the phone and she was like, "What is up with this weather? It was 75 degrees 2 days ago." And I was like, "No, you need to understand. This is Colorado. We get a fake spring and then a second real winter."
Yeah, this is full-on winter again, too. I looked at – because I got home from Chicago, which also had nice weather, and I was looking at the weather app. I'm like, okay, I know it's snowing. It's going to be bad. Let me see how bad. Next 10 days, all bad.
10 full days?
Yeah, I was like, damn, for sure, like, second winter has arrived.
Is that good for my skiing, though?
Yes.
Great.
It's going to be great for your skiing.
News.
Shouts to you. On today's show, I'm actually dying to talk about this, guys. DeMarcus Cousins has been getting better every single game. But he was great in this last one. He's really been great in like the last 3 or 4.
As friend of the show, Katie Wingy put out earlier, we have 2 of the 5 centers in the league to hit 30 points this year.
By the way, the world's easiest trivia ever. Like, I respect it. She was not trying to be the hard trivia, but the world's easiest trivia. And it was, but also a hat tip, a very cool little detail there. So now it begs the question: you're only going to be able to play DeMarcus Cousins for like 15 minutes a game, 16 minutes a game. Is that not enough? We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about 4 games in 5 nights. The NBA kind of screwed over both the Nuggets and the Warriors simultaneously. The Warriors have always obviously answered by not bringing anybody out to Denver. I don't know if you saw that. We'll talk about that. But how should Denver approach 4 games in 5 days? And, of course, I made a single game parlay I'm excited to share with you because it's probably a loser.
I've got some bets myself I feel pretty good about.
Are you going to handle the bets tonight?
I can.
You should handle the bets tonight because I just made one bet, and I was like, yeah, that's going to lose.
I've got some bets I feel pretty good about tonight's game.
Well, good, because tonight's game, we can get right into the game notes. You probably feel good in part because the top human in the history of humans is back. Nikola Jokic is back after his 1-game absence. He will play tonight.
So do we feel like that was an actual non-COVID illness or just a little rest game?
It was 100%. I mean, I think it was probably a rest game. Look, he might have had the sniffles, you know. It's like when guys have the tight hamstrings. Like, was it bad enough to hold you out? No, whatever. Whatever it was, it doesn't matter. The Nuggets won. It actually made for Friday night's game to be even better. Like, it made the DeMarcus Cousins game, which was just awesome. But he is back in, looks to be healthy. But he's not alone. Austin Rivers also back in and available. And, drum roll please, Zeke Naji is back. So I ask you, Kale, Zeke Naji might have got Wally pipped a little bit. He was playing very well. Then he goes out. JaMychal Green comes in, playing very well just like him. So now I wonder, Zeke Naji available tonight, does he see the court?
I don't think so. I don't think either. It's, as much as I love Zeke, I will buy all the Zeke stock if you're selling it right now. I don't even necessarily know if I want to see him. As we talk with George Karl a lot about, is you have to have veterans on that second unit to sort of lead when you're in a contending window. And JaMychal and Boogie have such a great chemistry going together right now off that second unit. I would be worried about splitting that up, especially as we're trying to get some chemistry going into the playoffs, because playing young guys in the playoffs, Zeke's going to have some learning moments. JaMychal Green isn't going to have those.
Here's my prediction. We are going to see 3 front court rotations off of the bench in the next 4 nights. We're going to see JaMychal Green and Boogie. That's what I predict we will see tonight. We're going to see Zeke and Boogie. And I think we're going to see Zeke and JaMychal Green because it's 4 games.
Which I don't want to see.
Well, it's 4 games in 5 nights, and I just think it's like you probably want to find pockets of rest, especially for DeMarcus Cousins, who we know had injuries, that he was dealing with since he's joined the Nuggets, like lingering things from before that never got healed. You never want to, 4 games in 5 nights, it's like an injury nightmare. That's where you worry about guys getting hurt. So I imagine there'll be a little bit of resting here or there, and I think we'll see all of it. So I do think that Zeke maybe got a little bit Wally Pipp, not fully Wally Pipp, but I do think a little bit of he was a lock to be the guy, and now it's like, hey, let's kind of see.
Here's my question: what if, say he doesn't play tonight, but he does play tomorrow, and he hits like 5 threes?
Like how much does he have to do?
Like how much does he have to do to like make that a question again?
It's so tough, man. I mean, I hope everybody checks out Keeping It 1000 with George Karl, because I always learn something talking from Coach. Doesn't mean I always agree with him, but I always learn a new perspective that is so valuable. I mean, he's coach, 6th winningest coach in NBA history, going to be a Hall of Famer by the end of this month. But he talks about how he thinks the reason the bench is playing so well is not necessarily the fit. It's the veteran-ness of the unit. You've got Bones Highland, who's not a veteran, Bryn Forbes, who is, Austin Rivers, who is, JaMychal Green, who is, DeMarcus Cousins. And the language he used, I said, yeah, but those guys just fit together. And he said, them being veterans makes them fit, meaning they know how to play and adjust.
And I've been really impressed with the fit, as you're saying, with those veterans. Austin Rivers, when he needs to take more of an offensive load, has been shooting more. But on nights where he doesn't, there's nights he only takes 3 or 4 shots, and he really just tries to lock down their best wing player.
Yeah.
And off the second unit, there's not really much more you can ask for. I mean, I think Austin is firmly in the rotation through the playoffs at this point.
I do too.
So I think I agree with Coach here. And but as much as I'm the Zeke guy, the Nuggets' best chance to probably make a deep playoff push is probably to run with this veteran group of guys.
I think Zeke and Bones both play more over the next 6 weeks than they do in the playoffs. And that's probably a good thing. I think it's like a good – I think they will play in the playoffs too, but – just not nearly as much. Malone really likes this new look Pelicans team, by the way. And there's a lot to like. They've been really, really good since adding CJ McCollum. I mean, they've been good actually before that. If you look at the Pelican season, they haven't had Zion, although allegedly coming back to the team shortly. They didn't have Brandon Ingram for like the first 12 games or something like that. If you go after that, from when Brandon Ingram came to the roster, they've been like the Minnesota Timberwolves. Really good.
Wow.
Like they've been like a 7-ish seed caliber team, and they've been, as Malone said, it's not that they've just been winning games lately. They've been winning by 30. They've been blowing some teams out. They humiliated the Los Angeles Lakers in Los Angeles.
One of my favorite games I've watched all year.
It was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun.
But honestly, they're a threat tonight to do something similar to Denver. If Denver comes out like they had the last 4 or 5 games, especially that starting lineup, because they have a very good starting lineup.
Yeah.
If they come out like that, I worry about tonight's game. Like, this is a game that by no means should be a cakewalk for Denver.
No, I definitely worry about tonight's game, especially with the way CJ's been playing. I mean, we should know better than anyone. CJ was arguably the best player in that 7-game series the Nuggets lost.
It's been a couple years, but yeah.
It's been a couple players, but he can be that guy.
Yeah, he can score.
And so I also think his leadership has brought so much to that team post-trade deadline, and they are really a solid play-in team at this point. I'm worried about tonight. The other thing that really worries me about tonight is Valanciunas is one of those guys that gives Jokic a little bit of fit. Not like Jokic doesn't go off because Jokic goes off against everybody, but maybe it's 35 instead of 50 and he gets annoyed, type thing. And when you can get Jokic annoyed, maybe get him in foul trouble earlier, there's a chance to really open the door there. So that's probably what I'm watching the most tonight is they're going to try and get Jokic in foul trouble early. And Val tends to be able to do that. Big Val, as D-Line likes to call him.
Big Val. Speaking of Wally pipped, did Vogt just get Wally pipped? Did Vogt just get Wally pipped? Did Dev just get Wally pipped? Super producer Kale comes from behind the camera to the seat and is just spitting fire over here?
I don't know.
Is that what happened? We're going to have to wait and see. We'll have to wait and see what happens.
We'll have to wait and see what happens.
Kale, incredible stuff.
Thanks,
Look
bro.
at this, man. You're rolling. Michael Malone said that the defense, in particular, the pick-and-roll defense lately, he says they've been living in no man's land. With avoiding getting too much in the weeds, we'd probably talk about this maybe on the list or something. You can play in drop, meaning really low, basically sitting in the paint, protecting the rim, vulnerable to teams like pulling up for mid-range jumpers off the dribble or what have you. Or you could play all the way up to the level of the screen, cutting off any angles, but being vulnerable to the roller. If you have to really be active with hands. Denver likes to play up at the level of the screen. It requires a couple things. One, the big, meaning Jokic, has to be mobile and read quickly. You can't be late to seeing a screen coming. You have to be all the way up at the level of the screen. You have to have great hands, which Jokic does. This is why it's a great defense for him. You're playing passing lanes. You're getting steals. You're just making it hard for offensive players to turn the corner. But then the guards have to be quick to fight around because you're vulnerable on the backside. The longer the ball handler is able to sort of sit after he comes off the screen and kind of dribble and hold off, the more vulnerable you are. So you've got to get around. Well, Michael Malone says the goal is to be into, over, and up. Up being the defender, into meaning the on-ball guard, like you're getting into the body so you're not getting disconnected, and then obviously over the top of these screens. And he thinks that they haven't done that. They've been in no man's land lately. So I'm interested about tonight. You've got Devontae Graham. He's a pull off the dribble threat. I'm curious to see if Denver is, on that specific challenge for Michael Malone, how they do defensively. He was also asked about Coach K for the second time for some reason. It cracks me up here in Denver that people are asking Michael Malone about Coach K. He's basically said, I don't have any I don't know him. I don't have any takes. Great coach.
Great coach. I enjoyed his biggest haters stopping by his own funeral last night. I will say that.
You're not a Duke guy?
Not a Duke guy.
Me neither.
I just don't really love the blue bloods in general in college basketball. So,
but I'm not a Carolina guy either. I'm a Wolfpack guy. They're like the Nuggets of that, triangle.
The region,
region.
Go NC State, I guess.
NC State. Also shouts David Thompson. And then he was asked again tonight by my colleague Matt Moore about shortening the rotation, which I thought was kind of an interesting question because I wouldn't think to be shortening the rotation right now. And he said no. Michael Malone agrees. He said doesn't think so. He really likes the way the rotation works right now. But that brings me up to what I want, the top story of this pregame show, which is I like the rotation too, Kale. I think it's a really good rotation. I think that bench has been solved. The starters haven't even played that well over the last 6-7 games, but Denver's rolling for the most part.
Last 3 games especially. The starters have all been in negatives.
Yeah, and yet they still are rolling. The starters can be better. But there is one change I actually think it might be time, and I can't believe I'm here. From where I was 3 weeks ago to then now where I am right now. DeMarcus Cousins has been, in my opinion, easily probably a top 5 impact player on the Denver Nuggets lineup since over the last 2 weeks or so, 2-3 weeks.
I think that's being conservative. I think he's probably been the second or third most important player.
Well, important, yes, because he's a big and he's really connected that second unit. But I'm talking about just in a vacuum,
he's the best player.
One
of the 5 best players.
Yeah, one of the 5 best players, and it's hard because Aaron Gordon's not asked to do what DeMarcus Cousins does. So comparing those two, it's a little bit weird. But nonetheless, DeMarcus Cousins' skill has so shocked me. One, because he lost a little bit athletically, and I just haven't seen him play at this level over the last couple of years. Nobody has. He's been injured, and then he's been playing in short stints. But he's so skilled that I'm actually sitting here thinking 16 minutes a game is not enough. He's that good of a player. I think he needs to play more, but you're not going to cut minutes from Jokic. Jokic needs to play his 32, 33 minutes a night anyway. So what does that leave us? I honestly I'm asking the question, and I think I have an answer for it. I think it's time that those two, you experiment with playing both of them on the court. Not a lot of minutes, but I think DeMarcus Cousins warrants 20 minutes a game-ish.
So you're thinking 4 or 5 Twin Tower minutes a
4
night?
or 5, 6 maybe Twin Tower minutes. Just a little bit of an overlap. And let me throw something at you here, Kel. Jokic, we haven't seen this. We've only seen 2 Twin Tower lineups in Denver. It was Jusuf Nurkic with Emmanuel Mudiay as the point guard. It went terribly. But look, with some of this, Denver was younger. They didn't have the right spacing, and they had arguably the worst point guard in the entire NBA running the show. I think that had a lot to do with it. Let's throw that to the side. Let's put that aside, put it in a box here. And Jokic Plumlee, and here's what's crazy. Jokic Plumlee, not a playoff lineup, in my opinion, but in the regular season, over the course of 3 seasons, they were a plus 7.29 net rating team in 1,300 minutes. That's an enormous sample size. 115 offensive rating, which is really good, and a 108 defensive rating, which is average-ish on the slightly good side. To me, we have an example of that lineup working. I'm going to talk about similarities and differences here in a second, but to me, I look at that and I go, I think he's too talented to only have this limited minutes. What's your first sort of reaction to that?
My first reaction is I want to see it first.
Of course, it might not work. It
might not work. But my second thought is it gets me really excited because I think there's so much playmaking that could be on that unit with being able to, I mean, if you have both of those guys on the post really trying to make the extra pass there, you're not going to be able to match that playmaking and that spacing or that size if you surround them with 3 shooters. So for spot minutes, I'm not saying this works for a whole game, but for spot minutes,
right,
that is incredibly intriguing.
Really intriguing. They're just so skilled. And here's the thing. Malone has been a reactionary coach for most of his tenure here in Denver, meaning a lot of it has been like, well, they go small. We had to match their size, or match their speed, or match their shooting. Jokic Cousins, to me, is the ultimate make them match. You're going to be vulnerable in a lot of ways yourself, but Jokic, the difference is Boogie is just so skilled. So I'm going to talk about similarities. Similarities between Plumlee Jokic, which we know worked, and Malone was willing to try. Passing, both guys can pass. I think DeMarcus Cousins, I don't want to say he might be a better passer than Mason Plumlee. I don't know. It's close. He might be.
Plumlee was a great passer.
Plumlee was a really good passer, but Cousins has been more of, I would say, like a playmaking passer. Like Plumlee can make, I don't know. It's close. I got to see more. They both were really good, but the passing, it's at least similar. The size and strength is similar. Like one of the things that worked for Plumlee and Jokic was you had 2 7-foot beasts, like just hosses on the court, and a lot of teams just didn't have a second guy they could throw out there. So those are the similarities. Here's where Cousins would be less than Plumlee in terms of how he fits. Defensive mobility. Plumlee could move his feet. Like he just was more mobile than either Jokic or DeMarcus Cousins. And when you talk about pairing those guys together, like one of those guys is going to have to play out of position, like really out of position and going to be on the perimeter. I don't think either guy can do that. Mason Plumlee was more athletic. He's more of an above the rim threat, which I think matters a little bit. Like if there's an athlete, like, I don't know, it's just going to make a little bit of a difference. The ability to have like a lob threat. Jokic threw some lobs to Mason Plumlee. Other guys did. It worked. And then just general speed. Like Boogie's really slow. Jokic is quick in certain bursts, but he's slow as well. So those are where you're at a disadvantage. But here's where you're at an advantage. Shooting. DeMarcus Cousins versus Mason Plumlee as shooters. Not comparable.
Not even in the same conversation.
Not even in the same conversation. What does that mean? It means that you can actually afford to play Jokic on the post, which you almost never did with Plumlee in there. Like Plumlee would have to really be creative in how he spaced if Jokic is on the block. Not the case with Boogie. He would be able to be out for a pick and pop threat or what have you. Post scoring. We all saw how many times Plumlee would get the ball in the post, and he was actually semi-efficient at it, but it was never like a go-to option. If DeMarcus Cousins is out there and a team does not match up with the Nuggets, meaning they're like, you know what, let Herb Jones guard him. I'm sorry, baby food. The Nuggets are just going to go inside all the time. Like Big Val's going to be out on the perimeter guarding Yoke. Say you have Herb Jones inside, baby food. He's giving up 100 pounds. DeMarcus Cousins too skilled to just like barrel into him and get offensive fouls. He would absolutely roast somebody inside. And then just overall skill. The thing is, like, when you swung the ball to Plumlee in those Jokic-Plumlee lineups, he was skilled in that he could make the pass. He could do this. Boogie can cross over his guy. Like, he can, like, do things that break the defense down. So there's some real areas where you give up some talent, but I think the skill level might more than make up for it, and it might be a I mean, we've seen this with Anthony Davis and him, and it worked, but though Anthony Davis isn't even as skilled as Jokic, I actually think that there is reason to at least think this lineup could work, and who knows? Maybe it's one of those Draymond situations where it's like, oh, a diamond in plain sight. 2 7-footers who both have supreme skill. That's like, hey, it actually just works.
It actually just works. It gets me really excited. I hope we see it tonight. If we don't see it tonight, I hope we see it over the next couple days. And wow, I hadn't even thought of it in so many ways. So my mind is spinning right now. But like you said, we have sample sizes of both this working when he played with Anthony Davis,
right,
and Jokic is more. And we have a pretty decent sample size of this working with Jokic and Plumlee.
Right.
And so to me, there's higher upside than both of those lineups with these two, with the way Boogie's playing right now. That gets me really excited. Not just pretty excited, but really excited.
I mean, I think you owe it as an NBA coach. You know, you have to stabilize things. And I think Denver's had so many guys in and out of the lineup that the last 3 weeks, however long Boogie's been here, 4 or 5 weeks, 12 games, whatever it's been, I don't blame him for not experimenting it. I mean, first of all, DeMarcus Cousins is a better player right now than he was 4 weeks ago when he first joined Denver. He's just healthier. He's in better shape. He's more confident. The team knows him better. He's playing better. So I think that I wouldn't have played this combo either. And you had a lot of easy games, which would have been best to try it. But I still don't think you blame anyone. You have some harder games coming up. Maybe it's tomorrow night against Golden State where Golden State's not bringing anybody to compete. Maybe you try it then. But I just think there's a 15-20% chance you discover something that's just a wrecking ball that every team in the league has to be like, we got to prepare for those Twin Tower lineups because they are a menace.
Well, and even that, like if you have teams taking significant time to plan for 5 or 6 minutes a game,
right? Yep.
That means they're not planning for they're not spending that time planning for other things, and you can find exploits otherwise. It just opens up so many more things for you. It's just another wrench you can throw at any team you're playing with, especially a team like Golden State, who really struggles with size.
Right.
I mean, their best chance against you is Kevin Looney and James Wiseman.
Yeah.
Like, on the court at the same time as Boogie and Jokic. Are you kidding me? Should be baby food.
It'd be baby food. So, like, there's that. I think there's like a 50-ish% chance that it's a hot or cold lineup, meaning some nights you have a good run, some nights you have a bad run, and it's just whatever. And then you got maybe a 15% chance. I didn't even do the math on this. You got to check my math for this. A small percentage chance that it doesn't work. But now I just think it's worth experimenting, and I hope we see a little bit of it. DeMarcus Cousins has just been so impressive, and teams don't go big because it's so rare to have bigs who are skilled, and those two are. So I'm with it. I'll go now to the upcoming schedule for the Denver Nuggets. The Nuggets have 4 games in 5 days. This is the scariest part of the schedule for me. Is they're only 4 and 5 on the because the NBA stopped doing 4 and 5. It used to be kind of common that they would do this.
In what? Because my whole lifetime this hasn't been a thing.
No, it's only like 5 or 6 years.
Really?
Yeah, they would have these like weird off 4 and 5 game, maybe 7, 8 years. It hasn't been that long.
At least since I describe myself as I became a hardcore basketball fan.
I forget how young you are.
In 2015.
Sometimes. Yeah, I forget how
I'm
young
only 24.
Yeah.
So like,
right around that time, perhaps.
Yeah.
The 4 and 5s kind of went away, and thank God they did because they were gross. But the Nuggets have it, and here's what's funny: they had 2 makeup games this year. If you recall, the first one, James Harden, Kevin Durant didn't play. And like they delayed the game because those guys weren't healthy among some other guys. Then they played it, and those guys still didn't play anyway. So it was like, what was the point of delaying this dumb game? Then this one, Golden State, you delay it, you make up for it, and Golden State said they're not bringing their guys. Like they're leaving as a protest. They didn't say it as a protest, but we all know what it is. It's a protest. They too have this 4 and 5, and so they're like, this is dumb. We're not even going to send Curry, Clay, Draymond. We're not going to send any of those guys out there. So that game hopefully is a gimme. We'll find out. It's in Denver tomorrow night, Monday night. But you play New Orleans, which will be a tough game. Golden State now looks like an easy one. Sacramento, poor Sacramento, man. They made the trade. It was kind of late, but they made the trade as let's make a late push. They've lost. Somebody put out the record, exact same record since the trade as before the trade.
Really?
It's like it was like
just a complete net zero.
The exact
like
you just scaled up. So it's like, oh man, that's too bad. And then you play Golden State on the 10th on the 4th night or 4th game in 5 nights. That's Thursday. Again here in Denver, but I suspect that Golden State will bring their guys for that one. It's on national television, TNT, which is great. Good job, NBA, always putting Denver on national television when they're on a back-to-back.
Second night of a back-to-back.
So I look at this and I go, first of all, I think Denver can win 2 or 3 out of 4 of these. Maybe they can win all 4, but 2 or 3 out of 4 is kind of what I would expect as par. But more than anything, we're so close, I think, to Michael Porter and Jamal Murray coming back.
Just get out of this healthy, man.
Just get out of this healthy. I hope Denver does the same thing that Golden State did tonight. Maybe they'll do it for the second Golden State game. They'll just be like, we each take a punt. Punt.
We're just taking one punt.
You know in soccer when like there's a player that gets hurt, the team will kick it out of bounds, and then the other team will throw it in and kick it out of bounds to reset it?
Yeah.
I feel like that's what Golden State is doing. Maybe Golden State can agree like, hey, let's both kick it out of bounds here.
We'll just both take an L.
Kind of lame.
It would be kind of lame. And the Nuggets are not in the position Golden State is.
That's true.
I think they really do need to be fighting for some standings here.
They really do. But I just don't like 4 and 5. Yoke took that game off against Houston. It was a gimme, but Yoke took it off because we all saw it. He was exhausted, mentally fried, physically fried. 4 games in 5 nights is what you come back to. I just worry, man. I just worry. Like, we'll see how Denver handles it, but it's just kind of dumb.
I do think there's a chance that Jokic gets a new life when Jamal and MPJ come back too, like an excitement.
Sure,
type of new life.
mentally for sure.
Yeah.
Physically though, like 4 games in 5 nights, I just pace yourself. Just pace yourself. We'll see what happens, but pace yourself. All right. Dev's not here, but it doesn't mean we're not going to make some bets. We got Super Kale here. What do I got to call you? Moneymaker Kale. Moneymaker Kale is in the house to make us some money on the DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. I'll read you while you kind of look at your app for the first time, and I'm going to read you the one bet I made. I made a single-game parlay. I opted in. There was a odds boost. Every leg you add to if you make a 3-game parlay, it's $5. A 4-game parlay, it's $10 boost, or 10%. Sorry, 10%, 15%, and so on. So or 15%. I made a 6-leg parlay.
Wow.
Denver money line. Jokic 20+ points.
Okay.
Monte Morris makes a 3. Will Barton makes a 3. Jokic makes a 3. He took a lot last time against Valanciunas. And then Bones makes a 3. I think all of those happen. I got 3 to 1 plus bet to 10 to win 33 on this one.
Oh, that's pretty good. So like
pretty
plus
good.
300 odds.
Now it's 4 different players to make a 3, but you know what? They already had their cold shooting night. They already had the Will Barton.
The Will Barton curse has been broken.
It's been lifted. I think Denver makes some shots tonight, and so that's what I'm going with. Like I said, I'm not really counting on it to win. So one of those things is going to kill me.
So first off, I would stay away from the money line this game just because I think New Orleans is too good. I don't love it. I don't love the spread. So let's go into player props, and I'll walk you through what I took.
Okay.
Jokic points. He's just going to have to tonight.
Really?
I really think he's going to have to. He's going to have to carry the game. So I've got Jokic points. That's over 25.5, and you get it at plus 100 odds. So bet one to win one.
He's rested.
I like Jokic double plus Nuggets money line to win. I took that.
What was it?
So it only gets up to like minus 170, but you don't get great odds. But
yeah,
I put 2 units on that because I feel good about it happening.
Wow.
And then the bet, my lock of the night, in honor of Dev, is Jokic threes. He always takes a lot of threes against Big Val. The line's only at 1.5. I think he's gonna have to jack him up to draw Big Val out of the paint.
Yeah.
So Jokic threes, that's my lock. Those are what I like.
1.5, huh? Man, you know what, Kale? I'm not feeling it, but I'm gonna go in solidarity with you.
And then are we building a same game parlay?
Well, that's what I did. I did the same game parlay at the top. That's what that bet was.
And then, there's an odds boost tonight that I really liked as well. It's Big Val and Jokic to combine for 25 rebounds. I think Jokic gets like 16 alone, so you're just hoping Big Val gets 8 or 9.
He didn't rebound against Big Val the last time. That's why I feel like this is a
sucker's bet?
Maybe a little bit of a sucker's bet. I mean, but here's the thing.
I like it.
Here's my other theory about Jokic, though. The more he plays a guy in a team in general, the more he gets better at this. And I think this is, the 4th time they've matched up this year? So I kind of feel like this is the game where it's like, okay, I've done it. Big Val kind of got the better of me this last time, so I'm going to go. Tonight is the night he cleans up. So I could see to your point, I could kind of see tonight being a Jokic night.
All right. I'm going to go play that outro music. So you
go hit that outro music. Everybody give it up for super producer Kale's first time on the mic. Like, I had no idea I had a star on my hands. This is wild. You know what you remind me of on Ted Lasso? When the manager steps up and then it's like he's like a brilliant coach, and it's like, oh wow, that's what that was like. Shout out to all you Ted Lasso fans. Eric, Wally Pipped, vote Wally Pip, Dev, Wally Pip. They're all out of here. They're now on production. Thanks everybody for tuning in. This was a good time. Gonna be right back after the game. Hopefully it's a winner's lounge. We'll see you guys all on the other side.